Hey, good morning, folks. We are going to continue artwork here for the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration book that we've been building here for the past year. So, give me a moment here to check my signal, do my official intro spiel, and then we will get to work. So, hold on here. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 3. Nope, I have this mislabeled, so it comes through okay. So, bravo on that front. But we do need to make a correction to the title because we are working on exploration art right now. So, content, live. Let's see if I'm capable of editing while it's actually combat page art. We'll go with exploration page art. Save that. Nice. And then if I go back into the channel here and refresh, exploration page art. Yay, we're in the exploration section right now. We had been working on combat for the past month, so I wanted to switch pace and get out of the battle and get into the exploration bit for a while, just because it felt right. So we've been working on the combat title page art, the siege attack with the Theurgy spiders and the crew or the ship firing a ballista at it. That is the only thing we honestly have to finish on that piece is the ballista. But I promised that we'd be starting on other art today, so I wanted to stick to that, and I'll just finish up the frame of the ballista, probably off screen, and post it when it's done. But I'll show you guys an instant of it just so you see where it's at before we bounce on to new territory. So I just wanted to keep the energy flowing and offer up something new instead of dragging my feet in on a dog Monday morning. And it feels like it has been way longer than 48 hours since I've been online. So it's just I miss being here. I love being online. I love the painting. I love the creation process. Yeah, well, hey, we're already diving into it. So let's go through my actual intro here. And we'll get to work. So I just posted that I am live online here at Twitter, so you can follow me at Phil Kearney if you're interested. Get notification, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to always get notification when I'm live in the future. I am here 6 days a week. I create and illustrate and publish role-playing games online. I've got a slew of links in the description down below. This is my most recent project, Spelljammer Combat and Exploration. So what we'll do is, I focus on 5e. All this stuff down below has free previews. Click them open, check them out. If you think they're cool, make a purchase. Greatly appreciated. This book will also be free preview like the rest down below when it goes active. So we have an idea, we create it. We play test it, and when it works, we word some more, send it off to an editor to make it actually sound good. Send it back to us, we format it into pages, and then from pages we can zoom in here. We'll scroll down past combat, past spellcasting, into exploration, and then we can zoom in some more. So here's our first page, the exploration chapter. So we extract this as a PDF. We jump over here into Spelljammer and we insert it as a PDF, and then we get the painting. So this is the book cover that we created back, what is this, episode 246. You can see this one back at around episode 215. So you can check out those shenanigans. We're going to be working on exploration today, but I did promise I want to take so you guys can see where the combat is at. So we've finished the asteroids. We've finished the ships. We've finished the crew. We still have some ballista cleanup to do. And I might honestly argue with the architecture a little bit more on this, but I need to fix this wheel, fix this trigger string, get this this rope shuttle working properly, and then get the drawstrings coordinated with it. So that's just a little bit of framework that I have to do basically here, and then a little texturing. But honestly, I'm not feeling the energy here today, but this is about what that page looks like. Yeah. It's not the best, most excellent picture in the world, but it'll do. By the time we get to this, you've already gone through like 4 pictures already. So by the time you get to this one, it's not going to be a first impression. So it's not like I'm going to shit on myself for having posted this one. They can't all be epic. So they aren't. You gotta let them go. Exploration. So here we are. We are going to explore exploration. This is the idea that I have for this sketch right here, is a giant purple worm attempting to eat a dragonfly ship, or a damselfly, a spelljammer. We had a scene like this in our playtesting during the Descent into Avernus campaign, where the ships were fighting a massive purple worm that was hundreds of feet in length. So I figured I'd pick up that idea and drop it here into exploration. It's not quite combat, it's not quite creature, it's a good space in between, which is where the exploration chapter's at. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do that. We're going to fetch ourselves some color references here off of our own content. Let's go down into the vessel tokens. And we'll go to the damselfly, and we'll conceal the grid and background. I don't know why I'm being so hanky about everything. It's fine as is. Let's just do this. The damselfly's a dope little ship, man. I'll leave that be. Save Asaris. Here we get to build a reference document. REF, period. And this will be the ship. And this will be the bug. And background is already locked. Oh yeah, and the trash. You can't forget the trash. There's like 4 illustrations in the entire exploration chapter. And it is just, there's so much visual content in the combat chapter. It's just been a slog digging through that just amount. That's that, like 38 pages of content. It's like, God, it's a whole book all by itself. Like the Knights and Tricksters book, it's down below. You can check it out. It's like 25 pages. And like 38 pages of just combat, which is like movement, scaling, damage, making attacks, coordinating ship crew actions. There's a lot to it, sure. But Jasmine crew, man. So it's weapons too. So I mean, at least a few pages. Oh, it's also the fleets and squadrons for commanding more than just your own ship. So they got that going on too. Can't really crap on that. Scaling distances here again. If you haven't seen this before, the distance a vessel with a major spelljamming helm can travel uninterrupted is 100 million miles per day, while a craft with a minor spelljamming helm can travel 1 million miles. This can scale down to convenient measurements of approximate time over distance when traveling between locations in wild space. Per day, every 2 hours, which is every hour, 2 hours drops to 10 minutes. 10 minutes to 1 minute. 1 minute to 6 seconds. There you go. It's rough. Again, we have the word approximate here, which, if anyone bitches, we'll come back and we'll highlight it. But this is just giving you a gist about how far you can travel per day and breaking it down into units and scaling of magnitude by 10 to stay with the general scaling that we have with maps, going from 5 feet to 10 feet to 5 feet to 50 feet to 500 feet to 1 mile, which is an approximation, 10 miles, 100 miles, etc., 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 up to 100 million miles. We have our common map scales here, which is as detailed in the combat section above. SC and E, Spelljammer Combat and Exploration, provides a flexible map system to depict movement at different scales during combat. Outside of combat, maps can similarly change scale during voyages that can also represent what characters see when using a magical wild space ori. Below lists the most common map scales used in a Spelljammer adventure. 5 feet is the common grid size for each player character to move and take actions as individuals. 50 feet, the grid size for ships to exchange spellfire, close range attacks, and ship melee combat. 500 foot scale, the maximum grid size for ships to engage in ranged weapon combat. 1 mile, the grid size for encountering ships and similar objects in space. Generally, the minimum size for objects to have spherical gravity instead of a gravity plane, which is 10 miles. 1 million miles, the grid size for mapping craft traveling 1 square per day. 100 million miles, the grid size for mapping vessels traveling 1 square per day. And then 10 billion miles, an unusually large wild space system. There you go, just some examples. Maybe I should switch that to below list some common scale description. No, that's appropriate wording. Let's see. Me. That. Oh yeah. We want to go grab art for a giant worm. So let's go with giant snow worm. Let's just do that. That's not bad. Yeah, we can use that. Good old classic frostworm. Copy image. Paste. Perfect. Let's go with a giant purple worm as well. Just want to get some different color in here just to give myself some variety. See if there's anything I like. Thank you, Timely Timer. Timely Timer wants me to take a sip, so that's what we're going to do. Sip of coffee, 2 of water. Yeah, a lot of figurines, but... Alright. Down here lays only madness. Let's go, let's just go with some more official D&D art. Boo. Okay, cool. So that's a decent base we can start with. Our references, stitch those up. Pull those over here like that. And we'll start with the, we'll just start with the damselfly. Still sketch AF, so let's see if we can just improve that frame a little bit. Use the references here. Craft we have to rebuild. it feels really nice to get outside of the combat chapter because again, that's just a really bulky portion of the document. It's shifting from one chapter to another is very similar to shifting from one project to another. It really helps reinvigorate. Even though you're still inside the same project, you're just in a different energy, talking about different stuff for a while. That is very, very helpful. I feel like we'll get this piece done this week. This isn't a very complicated piece. So, I mean, a bug is a bug, of course. The environment will be a little bit fun. It's not, for the amount of page space that this takes up, the composition is not a heavy lift. That turret picture that we were illustrating last week that I showed at the beginning of the stream, that is probably the most complicated piece in the entire book. Like the amount of elements that are interacting and the composition. It's not that I don't necessarily think it's the strongest illustration in the book, but it is the most complicated composition. Everything else has been much easier to put together and proportion correctly and illustrate with, I think, some decent energy. So getting past that piece alone is a good blockade breaker. It's going to help breathe a lot more energy into what remains of the project, and I'm thinking things are going to be able to move forward pretty well. I'm still building diagrams in the combat chapter, but there's only so many of those. But if we happen to finish all of them before we finish the remaining illustrations here, then we'll start doing them online because we won't have any other choice, basically. We'll run out of content. Gotta keep y'all entertained. So yeah, I'm here 6 days a week, Monday through Friday like this in the mornings. I work on Spelljammer Art just literally like this. On Mondays and Thursday nights, including tonight, we work on maps and creature tokens, and the adventure I'm working on happens to have a segment. One of the encounters is a slaughtered village, so killed by undead. So I get to illustrate blood paths and splatter marks in my village map tonight as a Halloween special. So like and subscribe for that, y'alls. That'll be in about 13 hours that we'll be doing that. 12 hours, something like that. It's 7 o'clock, so in about 12 hours, yeah, ish, and a half. Time's always a little loopy for when I actually start up. That, and then we'll have this on top of it. Yeah, that feels pretty good. There. Then down the tail a bit. hail. So we'll do this quote unquote paint over of my sketch. This is helping define the actual architecture that we want visible in it, but we're gonna do another pass over with line art. Just to clean it up to make sure how it's actually sitting is the final formatting that we want. Like that, then wings. Free transform. There you go, like that. One, two, and then 1, 2, 3, like that. There we go. Hey Karen, how you doing? We are working on the next painting. Boop. The exploration chapter. Bug running away from giant space worm. Very Star Wars shout back, I guess. Tilt this back a bit. Text. Doing good. Off work. Errands. Right on. Simple home management day feels good occasionally. There's our reference. Each square here is 50 feet, so this is a 100-foot long vessel that we're working with here. Pointless gunfire here. You got a catapult on the back, the ballistas on the underbelly down here. One of my favorite craft that are in the book. So I just think it's a cool, sleek design. It's, you know, like a fly or a bumblebee. That's the kind of bug I like to see. I think the insects are. I like the insects a lot more than I like the fish type of ships. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. It's just whatever aesthetic that you want. When I actually finish this book, I can go back and I can start just making up ships. Like, toss those out occasionally onto my Patreon as a thing for folks to pick up if they're interested, as just added value offers. Feels pretty good. Yep. All right. So we'll go with that. We're going to drop this down again. We're going to make this a faded piece, and then we're going to resketch it again as a final sketch dealy, and then we'll drop in base color underneath it. Where are we at right now? 7:05. Shit. We're doing great. We're doing great on time, so we got plenty for this. And the worm's going to be pretty organic, so it's all we got to do is just build up the proper architecture for it, work in the coloring, and then get the right amount of glisteny to it, and then that's a decent way for us to fill the page space. Yeah, I don't like that jig. I think the most interesting thing, I don't know if it's the most interesting thing, but an interesting aspect to the scaling mechanics that we have with these ships was that one of the playtests we ran was a side scroller where all the characters were in a, you know, they were in Spelljammers, right, that were flying around, but we were it was a side scroller thing where they'd go into a room, like they had the dungeon that they were in was a cliff face, right, and there was an entrance into the cliff face, so they would VTOL down in and would have a passage going off this way and a passage going off this way, and as they would go from one chamber to another, it was a dungeon, but it was just a side-scrolling dungeon. And in the transition from, like, each room would have these either creatures or like enemy ships that were flying around inside of there with their own guns, like, you know, firing, or like there was pillboxes, like in an 80s side-scrolling space game. There was like little stations where there was guns, like ballistas and catapults that were set up. And as you went further in, there was different fighter craft that the team could fight, and then there was the boss fight was a giant purple worm that was so huge that it could swallow their ship in one bite. So that's what they were fighting. Now, that was at the 50-foot scale. Here we're depicting an image at the 500-foot scale. Like, these little fighter craft here is gonna be. Well, I mean, if we were at the 50-foot scale, this being 100 feet long here, that'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Would be, yeah, like this is a 500-foot worm compared to this 100-foot. God, it's probably even 1,000 feet. Just like this block here, significant in comparison to this one. So it's that wasn't the scale. We were only working at the 50-foot scale. It was a 200-foot worm at the 50-foot scale. And the fighter craft that they were in were only 20 feet in size. So the proportions here are appropriate. It's just we upscaled it by 10. But it was fun having a side-scrolling adventure where you could you know, fly through a dungeon vertically like that. And then when you got into a room where you needed to engage it, the perspective could flip so that it was overhead. Kind of like how Final Fantasy has overhead map environment, and then when you get into an encounter with an enemy, it'll change. It'll be more of a isometric side scroller as opposed to a true overhead map. But oops, I want to delete the work that we're doing. But that was really fun. So I don't have that specifically mentioned in here, but that's a fun little expansion piece to talk about, like side scroll maps. When everyone is, because these things they can hover, right? They have flight speeds and they can hover, and they can, like, this can comfortably fit 8 for an extended period of time. So the ability to have that sort of different type of, I've never seen a side-scrolling map in a role-playing game. So I think that'd be a fun thing to introduce as an option. So a little excited about that. There probably is a side-scroll map TTRPG out there. Again, I'm just not familiar with it. So it feels original to me. But there's probably like a Sparrow simulator or something out there. It's like, actually.
barrel simulator has been on the market since 2005, you plebe. You're 18 years late to your excellent side-scroller idea, so shut up and sit down. I don't know why I'm using that. I think it's because I was such a snot when I had braces. So whenever I want to use you're a real snot voice, I default to braces. These are my experiences, not yours. No one has to take offense. I'm talking about me. Yeah, we can do like that. That's pretty good. Ain't perfect, but it's pretty good. So, are you using? I use an art pen. It has a radio transponder in it, a piece of metal that has a signal grafted to it, apparently, like a frequency. So the board that we use emits a radio signal that beeps off of the pen, and it knows the tip of the pen and it knows the tail of the pen. So when I tilt the pen, it knows what angle I'm tilting the brush at. If I have like an edge-shaped brush, it also has three-dimensional awareness. So like the pins that are at the bottom and the top of the pen have two marks like this. So when I rotate the pen, the little parallel diodes rotate with it. So that way, when I have a brush like when I have a brush like this, when I can spin it, it recognizes which direction I'm spinning in because of how that works. I wouldn't be able to do the Bob Ross shrubbery painting techniques that I use if I wasn't using an art pen like this. Computer mouse can't spin and rotate. It only has a fixed position, so it's always, no matter where I'm facing the pen, it's always facing, wherever I move the mouse, it always faces the same direction. It's the pen that lets me actually change the direction that it's facing. So critical to my work to have that pen. I'm going to take that back. I don't have to have a pen that rotates like that, but this mouse wheel here changes the default orientation of the brush that I'm using. Currently I'm using a sphere, so it doesn't matter, but before this art pen existed, I had to go in and shift the angle of the brush every 15 degrees and then tap on, so I could create if I wanted to create a bush with an arc like this, I'd have to go into this tool and change it by 15%, and then tool again 15% to do that, and then tool like this again to do an angle like that. It was murderously slow, but I could do it. Luckily, it was only about 6 months from me discovering that technique for them to offer a pen that rotates like that on a tablet that's less than $1,500. About 4 years, it was about 4 years ago. No, 5 years ago. Thank you. 5 years ago, Wacom tablets only offered that Z-axis brush on their Intuos, which were the paint on the monitor tablets that they had. But then they started getting an uprising in lower end gear, that's the Cintiq. Sorry, the Cintiq is the paint on. The Intuos are just a little. I use a little 6x9 art board is like $300 at Circuit City, or there's no Circuit City, by Best Buy. And there's a Best Buy 10-minute walk away from where I live, and they have four of these that I'm actually using on the shelf right now. So if something went wrong, I could just walk over and buy a new one and be back here and back up and running in about 30 minutes. It's happened before. It takes no time. So it's really, I've got the, I mean, it's not like I'm in combat conditions and my tablet's under constant risk of being destroyed, but at the same time, you know, if a painter doesn't have any pigments, he ain't painting anything. So you got to make sure your tools are available. That wasn't the final factor in deciding where I live, but it honestly went into consideration. If I had, I know like Jesper Ensing is Elsing, E-L-S-I-N-G, Jesper, Jesper. He's a Magic the Gathering card illustrator, and he started his career in painting like physical paintings before the digital industry caught up. So he used to color. He would import his line art and color it on computer, and he used a mouse, because his training era was prior to easy tablet access. So his skills, it was faster for him to paint digitally than to paint in freehand, in meat space, and less expensive. So he just got really, really good at coloring with a mouse. He didn't actually draw with a mouse. I think he was capable of doing it, but I think he just preferred freehand, importing, and then painting via mouse. But you learn the tools that you learn, and to a certain extent they dictate how your illustrations work. Not talking a lot this morning. Probably because I'm thinking. I'm doing architecture, and architecture is not freewheel color painting, inspiration, blah de blah. This is, to a certain extent, actual, work. Oh, hey, it's Monday. I'm going to be back on. So I'm on tonight in about 12 hours, but I'm also going to be back on like in 4? 5? Yeah, I should be back on in about 5 hours, and we're going to do some more of the Eldraine monster manual that was released on the DMsGuild, on D&D Beyond last month. It had 25 creatures inspired by the Magic the Gathering setting, Wilds of Eldraine, and I'm a big Magic the Gathering enthusiast. I created the 5-color mana spell point variant rules on the DMsGuild, so like color mana is my jam. MTG, anything MTG into D&D is like my stomping ground, and so they released the Eldraine. So I've been dissecting basically. deconstructing the cards that each of the creatures. So each of the creatures in the D&D set of monsters are inspired by the cards from the Eldraine MTG new release setting. So they took the creatures, they took the illustrations and some rough ideas about what the cards were about and created monsters. Now what we're doing on that stream is we're deconstructing the decisions that the Wizard of the Coast staff made about translating MTG into D&D creatures, and we're looking at how the decisions they made regarding color will align with the decisions that we made about translating color in the color mana books that we have linked down below. And so far, virtually everything that we have done with our works is being manifest in the Eldraine Monsters Manual, like the damage types with the associated colors, the spell lists with the assigned colors, immunities, special features. It's all lining up very nicely. So I'm very, very proud of the results that we have so far in those books, and it makes. But I'm going through the process just to make sure that I'm staying. It's a cool little thing. It's a neat book. I think they're cool monsters, but it was more than anything, it's just an opportunity for me to make sure my head's screwed on straight in comparison to the rest of the Wizard of the Coast staff when it comes to me translating these creatures into D&D mechanics. I'm going to be redoing all of those books when one D&D, is finished and the 2024 updates occur. There's an opportunity for me to update the classes that we present in those books already to be compliant with the new mechanics. That they're not calling it a new edition, so it's infuriating how we're supposed to label this stuff. We're going to get the game current with what they're doing, is basically what I'm trying to say. And since 1D&D will be hot off the shelf, there's a potential revitalization for the third-party market on the DMsGuild using these new mechanics, re-expressing things, and us basically, like a lot of other people, have an opportunity to re-release content. I'm not going to release it again for a new sale. I'm just going to update the product that we already have there, but be able to crow about it. The martial power system will be done, and this book will be done. There'll be a lot of opportunities for us to start using the different IPs together, like martial powers for ship combat stuff, so that your martial characters, if you want to pilot, like if you want to focus your martial character into a piloting role. Like if you want to be a barbarian pilot, then let's create a bunch of martial power features that you can use on your ship to be like ship powers. That'll be a lot of fun. And then we'll be able to build the mecha, and then we'll be able to have individual class powers, like we can have like a batch of powers for rangers, barbarians, and druids to do like shape-shifting stuff, or like minion control between the ranger and the artificer. It's a lot of cool shit we can do. Like just like little random things like that is ultimately where I want to go to, and be able to like to build the Book of Boros. Like here's 10 class translations if you're in the Boros Legion specifically. Like here's a Boros Legion wizard, here's a Boros Legion sorcerer, here's a Boros Legion cleric, here's all the special features that you get and all the class choices you can make to make the most Boros of Boros characters. But that would never sell on the DMsGuild because it's so hyper focused. Like maybe 1 out of 500 people that are playing let's be generous. Let's say 1 out of 500 people that are playing right now have the opportunity to identify their character with the Boros Legion background, that are playing Ravnica, have chosen Boros, and now are looking for something unique. Like they could just go Paladin and be done with it. you know, I'm going to choose Oath of the Ancients and apply it to being Boros, and you know, they're done. And it would be a very, very, very rare person out of those 1 out of 500 that are even playing Boros in the first place. Maybe 1% of them are looking for new options to play as a Boros that isn't already offered in D&D, which is why the MTG market for D&D stuff is such a slow market in comparison to like building alternate adventure content for Curse of Slod, for instance. Curse of Slod. That would sell. Making Curse of Strahd all about Slod would totally sell. But that's not what I'm building. So the stuff that I build is very, very niche. I'm trying to get out of being so niche into something more universal. But at the same time, I love color mana expression. The IPs keep me trapped here. Keep me trapped in my creative hell. Okay, here's a divisive, snipey sort of comment. If you ever wondered the difference between a content creator and an artist, content creators focus their time on things that they believe algorithmically are going to get more attention. That this will be a popular video post. That is a content producer. I have to do this thing even though I know it's going to be unpopular. It's going to be wildly unsuccessful. No one's going to care about it. No likes, but I have to do it. That's an artist. Sometimes an artist gets lucky in that what they create catches fire and it trends, which is as it should be. But if you're going into the process of this is something I think is going to statistically improve my presence, that is content creator talk. There is no art there. That is just using groupthink to decide what you're going to talk about. And group thinking is literally the opposite of art. And that's not snobbing at content creators. Like you're not real artists. Some of them are real artists. Sometimes they're thinking like a content creator and they're actually creating like an artist. There are different modes. I'm aware of them. I have started trawling my previous content for snippets of conversation that can actually survive as a standalone snippet. And when they can't, taking note of it for me to consider readdressing, like revisiting as official standalone content. So I'm in the process of doing it as well, which is why I can say that I'm immediately noticing the difference. It was that driven by the will sort of creation idea is what drove me out of doing character commissions, because it's it's a work to order. It's not necessarily how to be an artist. If you're gonna, okay, so you're an artist or you're an illustrator is the same sort of thing as content creator versus artist, where you are producing upon commission. You're being happening into us. You have you're off the screen. Hold on. Yeah. Whoa. Get that fixed. Better. There. What happened? I was trying to adjust. I couldn't see all the text that you had written, so I had to adjust the window. And when I did it, I pulled it, and it locked. It's a floating window right now, but if I move it the wrong way, it gets locked. So I have to be mindful of that occasionally. And then I'm going to pull this up here. There. Okay, cool. Back on task. Yeah, when you're getting paid to produce an image that is someone else's imagination, you are not necessarily being an artist. You are an illustrator. You are a graphic interface with your Patreon and reality. They don't have the skill set themselves to be able to create the image that they want, so they have hired your hand to push the pixels in the directions that they themselves cannot move. And I understand now, having stepped away from that line of work for a while, what my problem was. I could get paid $300-$400 for an illustration, but I didn't like them. And the reason why I realized why I could get paid that much is because I was taking on clients that other people probably didn't enjoy the illustrations that they were creating. And it wasn't anything like I turned out a lot of creepy, furry lolly type stuff that I would never want to be involved in, which is a problem that you can run into occasionally until I was able to better brand myself into just, safe for work only character art, fantasy, sci-fi, RPG stuff. But the lower my price, the more mainstream I would be able to get illustrations, but I wasn't fast enough to warrant the smaller commissions. I'd have to turn around more quickly. Granted, more mainstream means you're capable of turning things around more quickly in general. But it was the whole process of negotiating the amount of revisions that I'll make, how much I was willing to be an extended pen stylist for my patron of the moment. And I didn't necessarily always like the character, or I didn't like how specific the pose needed to be, because it didn't necessarily track with what I believe human anatomy is capable of doing or being. It's like these are things that can cause a project to fall apart and you wasting your time. And you want to secure a prepayment so you don't waste your time if things go ass up. But when they do, the creator gets pissed off because they didn't think that the deposit idea was a serious one. So when you hold them to we're done with this project, I'm keeping the money, and you're not getting a finished thing because I hate the project, it feels swindly to them. So you're arguing your own creative freedom, and while also playing lawyer. Super pain in the ass. And I'm using that tone that lets you know how tired of it all I am. Years later, I'm still tired of it. It's been 5 years since I've really been in that like in that side of the industry, and it's still just exhausts me. The book cover that I'm doing on Saturday. Technology! Gotta love it, lols. Yup. The book cover that I'm doing on Saturday, that is a rare exception. I don't do a lot of commissions. But occasionally people pitch me on, hey, this is the kind of thing that I need, and they're willing to pay for it. And if it's something that grabs my attention anyway, then yeah, I'm willing to do it. And it just happens that the people that I often get commissions with are people that I've worked with before, like Ukulele Bard. He helped me build this book. So it's like, yeah, I need a book cover. It's like, well, I'm absolutely going to help you. And Andy Healy, the current book cover that I'm creating, he helped with, he was my co-author for the Eberron adventure that I stream on Mondays and Thursdays. So he's like, yeah, I'm doing this other book thing. I need a cover. I'm like, of course I'm going to help you. Of course I am. So that's a really good word about networking there. Like if you want to get into the industry, you really should network with people and get to know who they are, because they're willing to cut you deals and stuff and help bend into the stuff that you want to do. Like that, I am a very active example of that. I think I am observing that I am yet again creating this Spelljammer ship much quicker than I've created them in the past. Like I think this is the third Damselfly that I've illustrated in this book so far, and it has been ridiculously quick turnaround on this. I think as the project goes along, and I work the same ships over and over again, I start to learn like which details on the ship are actually important to express and get the point across. And again, this is knowledge that I'm accumulating, which is allowing me to produce this particular piece over and over. Like speed up the production time of each piece of art that goes into this project. But once this project finishes, that knowledge is kind of lost, and it just becomes part of a larger, like the specialized knowledge of building these bugs is only as useful as the amount of content I create in the future that relies on them. So like if I don't keep coming back and doing more Spelljammer art in the future for more Like, it kind of locks me into the process of these books, of this particular IP. Otherwise, this knowledge I'm accumulating about building these bugs specifically is going to fade. And I don't know how I feel about that. I'm really proud of the skill set that I'm accumulating here specifically with these, but it's such a limited scope of the palette of different things that of all the different game stuff I want to produce. I recognize the value of staying inside of one IP and just start to become more of a content expert and authority on, like I say, Spelljammer specifically, or Ravnica specifically. Like, hyper focus your audience so that you'll find your tribe. I can build support into my efforts through the things that I like to focus my attention on, but I don't wanna. Where are we at? 43? Okay, I'll be able to get these legs in and we'll probably be done for the day. That's pretty good. How's that leg go? Forward, sweep back. There we go. down. Where are we at with our size? Let's get to 1, 2, 3. Woof, I'm having a rough time with his leg, I tell you what. Let's take the heat off. I'm gonna reapproach this. I'm not sure if Etsy is the best place, but I've heard it's a good start. That's right here too. I mean, the only thing you can really do, Karen, is just to do it. See how it fares. I mean, you know, if you're interested in the industry of creating the same thing, well, it depends. If you're just doing couture, one of a kind things, you know, buy this one thing one time, it's gone. There's a lot of artist integrity to that of selling the physical piece that you created. I'm in a place where all my stuff is digital, so it's basically stock art that I sell. So there's not nearly any real artistic value behind, there's no art value behind digital illustrations. It's like all the artistic value comes from a physical copy. I'm trapped in, I have the heart of an artist, and the industry is illustration. So I'm in a weird juxtapose where I like doing artsy things, but I never have a physical copy left because I can't mix pigments. I cannot reliably do color physically like I can digitally. I'm sure someday one of my friends will say, well, why don't you just try? And it's like, you know, even I have limits to that. I love you, Larry, for having challenged me in the first place to actually attempt to find a way to paint in color. And it certainly got me to shut up about, you know, bemoaning that I can't. But I'm not bemoaning that I'm not in a physical space. I don't really value that the same way. So, shut up! Ya plebes. It. All right, we're done. We're done for the day. What is it? 7:50 something? Yeah, I gotta bounce in a few minutes. I can afford to do a little bit of cleanup here, and I got Audi. You know, David Blank is our love. Nice. Oh, right on. Well, I mean, hey, if that's something that you gotta pursue your muse. If you are being inspired to head in a direction, you should head in that direction, even if it's just so you can turn around and see where you were from a different perspective. Gotta go and do what the muse demands. I don't know. I wonder if chicks get male, like my muse feels like a chick to me. I wonder if chicks get male muses to inspire them. Or I wonder if it's all identity based, so you get... Like, I wonder if Muse always picks things that are aesthetically pleasing to the target that's being used. Or I wonder if some Muses are just like terrible monsters that scare their target into being productive. Like, fuel their nightmare. I mean, I guess everyone's different. Can't really judge, right?
That's a damn looking good bug, man. Holy shit. We're getting good at making these things, man. That's some decent architecture. Ah, nice. I am really thrilled with that. God, that's so clean. That didn't take much time for us to do that at all either, man. So we're going to go ahead and cut here for today. When we come back tomorrow morning, we'll finish up this bug. We'll lay in the... I still have some wings to add and weapon, of course, topside cannon and some harpoon flingers. So we'll finish that up. We'll add in the we'll add in the megapede. We'll probably end up making this a megapede, which is one of the creatures in the new Spelljammer book. So it's appropriate. It's only like 150 feet long, and that bug's 100 feet long, so the proportions here aren't right. But you could easily upscale the megapede times 10 in size and just deal times 10 the damage and have, you know, times 10 the hit points. It's pretty easy to do. Otherwise, it's unmodified. But we'll save that for next time. So yeah, I'll be back. I'm going to be back in about 5 hours. We're going to work on some Eldraine monsters. Just looking at it. It's just musings and me looking at stuff. And then tonight, in about a little less than 12 hours, we'll be back on. And Eberron will be in the village, and we'll be creating some undead blood aftermath on the ground for folks to track and explore and investigate. So thanks a lot for being here, Karen. Thanks a lot for anyone else that's checking this out after the fact. We're here 6 days a week. We're looking for 500 subscribers by end of year, so that if this stuff is interesting to you, please like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications when we're live in the future. And I will see everybody in about 5 hours. So thanks a lot. See you then.